have access to it. What's your standout moment or whatever of the 4th, Rhino?
I got my hands on, I went to a barbecue on Sunday to celebrate, and I got my hands on this, I don't know if it was grilled or smoked or what, but it was this Rotel meaty dip goodness that was just amazing. And I'm not joking when I say that was the highlight of the weekend.
That's
it was
okay.
that good.
Well, I was excited too when family came over and I saw my sister-in-law walk in with a big bowl of corn dip. I was like, yes, I didn't know this was on the menu, and now it is. So thank you so much for bringing that. So turning to my guest who's joining me here on Good Things, which she's not here to talk about food in general, but however, Christiane, part of mental health is taking time for those good things, which we're going to get to. But so your holiday weekend, long holiday weekend, what was your standout good thing of your holiday?
I got to spend some time with some classmates from high school. We had a picnic out in my hometown in Port Gibson. One of my classmates have this nice spread where we were just very private to ourselves, and it was we was also celebrating our 50th. Everybody turned 50 in the class, so we had a good time. It was really nice.
That is a good time. So that would put you at your 30th reunion?
Over 30.
Over 30 reunion. I say that, hey, my 20th is coming up, and it just the years start ticking by, don't they, Christiane? Well, it's really cool, though, that you guys have stuck together through all these years and find time to sort of celebrate. On the text line, Jameson's in a great photo, which we can't see, but he had a blast with his kids on a side-by-side going through some water and some mud, and then someone else mentioned their good thing of the holiday weekend was homemade peach ice cream, which, again, it can be food, it can be a moment, it can be something funny that happened. We just want to take time to celebrate the fact that you all took time for the good things over the last several days. But to get to what Miss Christiane is actually here on Good Things to talk about, you have been in law enforcement or corrections for 25 years. So pretty much since you graduated high school, now that I know the math there, Miss Christiane.
Close to it.
Close to it. But recently you have developed a program called Lead by Example, which is free mental health training for executives in law enforcement, elected officials, agency directors, and even our clergy. And so I feel like this is the highlight of all those years of bringing you to this. So let's just start with when you graduated, when you did graduate in Port Gibson, so I hate to say so many years ago. It was coming out of my mouth, and then I thought, well, that's disrespectful.
Oh, no. Long time.
But what took you in the route of law enforcement?
It was always something that I was interested in. Honestly, I wanted to go and visit the state prison when we was in high school. And my dad was like, no, you can't go. And, that just kind of piqued my interest a little more. Like, why do you don't want me to go? So as I always was into the Madlocks, any kind of law enforcement show, or I was watching it. I always wanted to know more. I was always reading about this law coming out and that law. And he was like, why are you always worried about that? And so that just kind of pushed me over into it. At first I started about teaching, but then I ended up back over in the law enforcement area. So that's where I've been. I mean, I love helping people and finding alternatives to make sure that we can be a help to someone.
So when did it start to be apparent to you, Ms. Christiane, that maybe mental health plays a role in some people finding themselves on the other side of the bars in prison?
When I was working at the sheriff department up under Malcolm E. McMillan, and every time somebody would come in booking, if they had any type of mental or any disabilities or anything, I ended up having to book them in, almost, just take care of them their time. So one day I asked my sergeant, I said, hey, what are you trying to say about me? If all the people that come in with disabilities or some kind of ailment, you all send them to me to make sure I, get them processed in. And his thing was, you just seem to communicate with them better. And I was like, okay, I don't know to take that as a compliment or insult, but I'll just take it as a compliment. So that was kind of my start to it. And then some of them was repetitive by coming in. So I was able to see the same people over that started coming to jail. And I was like, why you keep coming? And it was really just a mere misunderstanding between them and law enforcement, just not understanding. So once I started to see that and I started asking, or they would get comfortable enough to tell me what, disabilities or ailments that they have, mental illness, what type of medication. And so I started reading up on it. So when I left there and went to the Department of Corrections, it was like, okay, now I can apply everything I've learned there, and I have an active caseload, and it just progressed from there.
It progressed from there, and obviously you want to just be able to unzip everybody's brain that's in law enforcement or whatever and pack in all the things that you know. Wouldn't we love that? I mean, even as a dietitian, I'd like to do that with all like food knowledge, right, and zip them back up. But sadly, you can't do that from person to person. But when you do start to see maybe patterns of things that are, and I hate to use the term slipping through the cracks, but I mean, it is. I mean, it's not that law enforcement's not necessarily doing their jobs. There's just sometimes where you run into individuals who are presenting a certain way, but there's other things going on behind that's not just textbook. I think that would be fair. Would that be fair to say?
That's fair, absolutely. And working in it and starting to, with the speaking engagement and attending different conferences, I started jotting down things, and I was like, okay, this person, not this person, but I think they're lacking this and lacking that. So that's kind of how I was like, okay, and I say we, as law enforcement, I don't think we really had an understanding of what mental health is, what it looked like, what should we be, expecting, how should we interact with the person. So that's kind of how I started. I say, okay, I got to go back to what my grandmother say, always leave something better than you found it. So that's why I, kept diving deeper into it to try to figure out how could I be, a help, to law enforcement to understand somebody with mental health. Jail is not the place for them.
When I think, too, most officers would openly say, and even your clergy, which I want to get to that part in a minute because that's an interesting twist to add this piece into it, that, once they have an understanding, then they even feel more confident and, in doing their job. And I think there's a lot that are starting to say, hey, teach us, like, show me what to be looking for or how to better respond, and we'll handle it, sort of accordingly. So these workshops, how did you finally got the opportunity to do them? Or first, maybe back up, Christiane, because it's not like you can just say, hey, I'm setting up a workshop. Come on in. It took a lot of people saying yes to your idea to get to this spot. So who all said yes to Christiane to get these mental health workshops available?
Well, the first person was Christiane said yes to herself because I had been prolonging it and I had been pushing it off. And so I started writing it down. So then I put it all together. I said, how would this look? So when I wrote it down, and then I went to Dr. Catherine Carkett over at Hines Behavior Health, and I pitched it to her. She said, sure, we'll do it. So the second person was, I called the executive director of the Department of Mental Health, Wendy Bailey, and I said, Wendy, I have something I need to show you and I would talk to you about. And so she was like, okay. And so she was like, yes, this is part of awareness. We're behind you. And so then I called the Mississippi Disability Rights of Mississippi. I always mess it up. And,
lots of words.
Right. And so I told them, I said, but I want you all to come in and talk to the people in the workshop, because a lot of people, because they can't see mental health, they don't know if it's a disability.
And everyone just kept saying yes. And now
Yes.
you've got your workshops up and running. We've got more with Christiane